Welcome back. This is LSU Live, and I'm your host, Lewis Johnson. Welcome back to another episode. Yeah, the season is over, but the news doesn't stop. The news has not stopped since the season has been over. We got a non-stop cycle, a lot to cover. And seemingly every day something else is going on. Somebody else is in the portal. Another coaching move has happened. So we got a pretty packed show. We got a lot to go over. Look, by now, I'm sure everybody knows Frank Wilson has agreed to join the Ole Miss staff. So, in this bowl game on December 27th, in the Texas Bowl, after the Texas Bowl, the great Frank Wilson will take his talents to Oxford, Mississippi. And look, you decided that's good news or bad news. I don't think anybody was hoping that Frank Wilson would move on, but either way it goes, everybody's going to have their take on it. And look, we'll jump right into it. There's no sense in wasting time. Yeah, we got a lot to cover as far as transfer targets. We got a lot to cover as far as current LSU players who intend to enter the portal. But we're going to start where everybody wants to talk about right now, and that's with Frank Wilson, running backs coach for LSU, interim head coach, recruiter extraordinaire, long-time staple of LSU's program. And look, I wanted Frank Wilson to stay, but at the same time, you hire a coach in Lane Kiffin. You pay him the kind of money you're paying him. You have to allow him to run the program, steer the ship as he sees fit, and that's just what it is. So, of course, you don't want to see him go in conference, but look, it could have been worse. He could have gone to Texas. They also needed a running backs coach, and they got Jabbar Jaloop, another New Orleans guy from Florida. But you would rather Ole Miss get Wilson than Texas because, look, Texas got the resources to go, look, stack for stack, rack for rack with anybody. So you're not going to be working with quite the checkbook that Texas would give them at Ole Miss, even though, look, Ole Miss has obviously proven that they can go and get them in the portal. Uh, I won't deny the impact that Frank Wilson has on LSU or has had on LSU. You're seeing a lot of mental gymnastics right now as far as explaining why he's not that important and why it's not a big deal and why it's time for him to go. Maybe it is time for him to go, but we're not going to pretend on this show that he wasn't important. And one of the bigger arguments you'll see is, well, it's a different game and it's not about relationships. It's about money. It's about NIL, this and that, this and that. Well, it's never going to be all about money because LSU isn't the only program with money. And give LSU credit for adjusting to the new landscape and examples like the new deal they cut with Nike, which makes LSU competitive with almost anybody. You still can't outspend everybody on every player. So it's still going to come down to the relationships when you're talking about recruiting and actual skill to close deals. Recruiting, networking, that's a skill. So I'm not going to pretend that losing Frank Wilson is no big deal. You just keep on moving. Yeah, you're going to keep on moving. Unless you got players before Frank Wilson, they'll continue to get players after him. But to say it's no loss is crazy to me. You can be a fan and still live in reality. That's also allowed. Uh, but for those of us, you got some who, okay, yeah, let them go. We don't need them anyway. Running backs sucked anyway. No, running backs didn't suck. Uh, but you also have those who are like, down in the dumps. How could we lose them? We'll never get another player out of New Orleans. Let's not go that far either. You got to find some middle ground. And the bottom line is, you just can't have it all. I'll compare being a sports fan to life in general. You just can't have it all. In life, I think most people, you want the big high paying job. You want enough time to spend with your spouse. If you got kids, you want time to spend with your kids, and you want time for yourself. Well, in reality, it's most likely not going to happen. If you get 3 out of 4 of those things, I'll call it a win. I'll call it a dub. In LSU's case, you got the coach you wanted in Lane Kiffin. You kept Blake Baker. You kept Corey Raymond, but you lost Frank Wilson. So that's 3 out of 4. So you got to live with that. You got to take that. And you don't know how this essentially what could work out to be a trade is going to work out. Because I expect LSU to go out there and close the deal with Kevin Smith, who's been Lane Kiffin's running back coach since his Florida Atlantic days. Uh, Chances are you probably end up getting him, and that'll be yet another trade. You got Austin Thomas, you got Glasscock as GMs. You got the 2 recruits that flipped from LSU to Ole Miss and Ole Miss to LSU. So it's a lot of trades going on right now. It's almost like you're talking about NFL teams. But here we could have yet another one with Frank Wilson and Kevin Smith. And who knows, this could work out for both programs for all we know. But if you're an LSU fan, don't get too down about it because you just simply can't have it all. You got Kiffin, you kept Blake Baker, you kept Corey Raymond. That's a win. Count your blessings. Frank Wilson has been a great asset to the program. I mean, you can name players. If you've been following the program, then you're most likely familiar with some of the guys he's recruited or been a big part of that recruitment. Guys like Harlan Berry, the #1 overall running back in the country last year out of New Orleans. Guys like Richard Anderson out of Core. Guys like Lamar Brown out of U-High. All 5-star guys. And a lot of, guys who weren't necessarily 5-stars who turned out to be productive players. Frank Wilson was a big part of that. But as I said earlier, LSU got players before Frank Wilson. LSU dominated the state since pretty much the year 2000. And LSU will continue to get players. So shout out Frank Wilson. I wish him luck until he's playing against LSU. I wish the best for him. But LSU will move on. LSU will live on. And look, it's not the end of the world. Frank Wilson, okay, he's on his way out, but he's not to continue with bad news, but he's not the only one who's on his way out for LSU. You got another guy who announced his intentions to enter the transfer portal today, and offensive lineman Carius Kern. Carius Kern, big time recruit, super athletic offensive tackle prospect, recruited by Brad Davis. So his main guy, his recruiter, his position coach, Brad Davis, is out of LSU. That opens the door. Who knows what was thrown at Carius Kern for him to make this decision so early? Because you would think, okay, this is a guy who came in as a true freshman. He had his ups and downs, but he played. He got plenty of playing time at left tackle and right tackle. He had a chance to grow. He gained some valuable experience. And he really set himself up. Once you go through the fire and you've been in some tough environments, you've gone one-on-one with these NFL edge guys. Now that's kind of the foundation for becoming a real player, and the athleticism is there for Kern. The potential is there. So to announce this early, you're not even considering staying at LSU. So who knows if a big number got thrown at him, but this was a little surprising, and it does make you wonder. Typically you would have time for LSU to counter offer, or maybe he gets to know the new staff. Who knows? But this was pretty early in the game, considering that we're still a few weeks out from the portal actually opening. So yeah, Carius Kern has entered the portal, and I think that's 9 now so far, unless somebody else has jumped in the portal since the show has started. And I just want to go over the guys who have joined so far. and talk about what it means for LSU. And another guy who predictably, and in my opinion, got in the portal was quarterback Colin Hurley. Hurley reclassified and um, finished high school a year early to come to LSU, and I think 2024 came to school as a 17-year-old and redshirted. Got in a bad car accident early this year, so didn't participate in spring practice. Apparently, didn't see a route to him being the guy at LSU. And quarterback is one of those positions where people don't wait around. Like if you're not going to be the guy, you're getting out of there. See TJ Finley. Um, but yeah, Hurley in the portal. No surprise there. Juwan Johnson, very valuable player for LSU. Played all over the place, and most recently helped out at running back. He wants to play quarterback, so more power to him. Good luck to Juwan Johnson. He's also going to enter the portal. Caleb Jackson is a guy who I kind of expected, to be honest, to enter the portal after the last season. When you saw his opportunities drop pretty fiercely there. So Caleb Jackson is a very curious case because he showed he showed so much potential as a true freshman. The size and very explosive first step. I don't know about his top end speed, but when he could get north and south, he was moving. He was accelerating pretty quickly, and he put some guys on some highlight tapes as far as truck sticking a few people. Liberty High prospect, but Caleb Jackson sees the writing on the wall. Didn't get much action this year. A former quarterback in Juwan Johnson got more carries, way more carries than Caleb Jackson. So no surprise there. Uh, Colin Billiard, wide receiver, very intriguing guy. Look, I like basketball players. I like multi-sport guys, but especially basketball players when it comes to offensive linemen and wide receivers. But uh, he was a kind of a project, 4-star ranked guy because you could see the tools. He even played in, I think it was the Army All-American game as a senior. And this is a guy who didn't even start playing football until late in his high school career. Good size in that 6'3" range. Just couldn't get. And look, LSU, for what it's worth, people talked about the production from LSU's receivers. I don't know how you can expect production in an offense that bad, but Billy I couldn't break through to get the playing time. And kids just aren't waiting around now. This possibly could have been a good year for him to break through in the lineup and become more of a contributor. But he's going to take his chances elsewhere. So good luck to him. Another wide receiver who jumped in the portal was Jelani Watkins. And this is a track star. This is a 10-1 guy in the 100. So for an offense that struggled to move the ball, that struggled to create explosive plays, that just struggled all around, I don't understand why LSU didn't put more of an effort to get the ball in his hands. And I'm not saying he was going to be a trending Holiday where you get 4 or 5 touches a game, but at least sprinkle him in a little bit. Look, I didn't even bother looking up his stats because I remember him getting one carry on like an end around or something like that. A guy that fast, if nothing else, put him out there and let him be a threat. Let him distract the defense or something. But yeah, Jelani Watkins didn't get any opportunities, and his long-term future is probably in track, but he wants to play football. He's moving on. Ahmad Bro, defensive tackle, sophomore guy out of Ruston. A guy who put on 50 pounds to put himself in position to contribute as a defensive tackle as a true freshman last year because he was an edge in high school. He really played all over, but he was an edge guy. And didn't get as many opportunities this year with Jacoby and Guillory coming back and Bernard Gooden jumping in and grabbing a starting role from the transfer portal. So Ahmad Bro on his way out. I felt like Ahmad Bro was a pretty solid player. I'm not sure if he was going to be a star, but he was definitely an SEC level contributor at defensive tackle, and you can never have too many defensive tackles. But good luck to him. Ashton Stamps is another guy who was in the portal. Stamps is a guy who got I mean, I've talked about it several times. Got forced into action a little bit too early. Had to play. Had to take his lumps. Had to get burnt up here and there. But look, Stamps is a competitor. He got better every game. He got better from year to year, and Stamps can help a lot of teams. So it if it made sense for anybody to get in the portal, it made sense for Stamps to get in the portal because he can play, but he's not going to play over DJ Pickett or PJ Woodland at the level those guys are playing right now. So go ahead, go somewhere where you can play, go somewhere where you can possibly start, and try to get your draft stock up there. Wallace Foster is another defensive back who jumped in the portal. And Foster is kind of like Caleb Jackson in a sense where I kind of expected this a season ago, a year ago from him, because I just didn't see a route for him to get on the field at corner. But good luck to Wallace Foster. Didn't really get to see, what he could do other than a few practice clips and the spring camp. But he was a 3-star guy out of New Orleans, so good luck to Foster. Those are the guys who are leaving. That list is constantly changing. Could be more than that. But as of now, those are the guys who we know intend to enter the portal. Let's talk about guys who are coming back. As of now, let's talk about guys who are coming back. And with LSU losing guys like Aaron Anderson, like Barry Brown, like Xavier Thomas, that's a lot of production that LSU is losing at receiver. And you could go a few different ways with this because I think a guy like Teron Francis has a lot of potential. He came in with the size at 6'3", 200 to play right away. That LSU didn't really need him to play right away. So a guy like that could be a major player for LSU. But who I want to start off with at that position is Kyle Parker. We're going to talk about key returning guys who are really important to LSU's future right now. Not to say that, let's say if one of them jump in the portal, it can't be replaced. Anybody can be replaced in this day and age because the portal is growing by the day. But if these guys come back, we're talking about some potential leaders for your team. And Kyle Parker, at receiver, is a guy who he always answers the bell. When Aaron Anderson has injuries, whenever you need somebody in that slot to make a play, Parker was consistent. And even as a freshman, he made some plays. He got hurt, I think maybe the third or fourth game as a freshman. So you didn't see much of him that year. But he's a consistent guy. He's not super flashy, but he's dependable in that 5'11" range. Active out of the slot. He gets open and has reliable hands. Very curious to see what he could do in a real offense. I want people to understand like how tough it is on your skilled guys in an offense this bad. An offense that has no protection, that has no running game, that has no imagination in the play calling, no direction in the play calling. It's just tough. A lot of these guys are much better players than what they appear to be in this offense. It bothers me to hear when people say, well, LSU just didn't have the receivers. Nah, it's not that simple. The receivers can't throw it and catch it. They can't block. They can't call plays. So a bad unit makes everybody look worse. And when I make this point, I tend to go back to years like 2020 with that awful defense. And you got guys on that defense like Cordell Flott and Jay Ward who are just getting burned alive by social media about how bad they are. And you got these guys that are still in the NFL today, and a guy like Flott who was approaching possibly a Pro Bowl. So when you own a bad unit, it makes everybody look bad no matter how good you are. Parker is one of those guys who I think can be a lot better than what people realize right now. Another leader, possibly your most important guy coming back, assuming he comes back, and this is kind of considering the fact that we don't know what LSU is going to get in the portal right now. You know, LSU is going to target and get offensive linemen. How good and at what positions, where they pick up the most, because you really need them all over the place. At offensive tackle, right now, you have Tyree Adams coming back. Tyree Adams was your left tackle for this year. He also had some injuries. He's one of the few bright spots. Adams and Braylon Moore at center are two guys that you feel like, okay, you can build around those guys, but you just never got to a point to where you could get enough guys to complement them and have a competent offensive line. But Adams is good. Look, he's not Will Campbell, but most people aren't a top 10 draft pick. So I think Adams showed his worth, if you ask me. I trust him at left tackle. Here's to hoping that he comes back and he can come back and have a healthy year. But he should be a big part of that offensive line for LSU. And again, let's just hope he comes back. On the defensive side of the ball, you need leaders, you need production. You're losing Bernard Gooden, you're losing Jacoby and Guillory, but you're bringing back Dominic McKinley. And McKinley had a good year. What you want for him in 2026 is you want more splash plays. You want a guy that's consistently a difference maker. McKinley was plenty good enough to start, but when you signed him and you look at his tools and you see the plays he makes here and there, you're like, this guy can be much more than a starter. He can be an all-conference type of guy, and that's what happens when you get that consistency up. So this is a guy who's he's still growing as a player. He's had much more help around him in 2025 than he did in 2024. So Dominic McKinley is going to be a huge part of their defense, and if he can step up to be the player that he's projected to be out of high school, if that 5-star production can match that 5-star potential, then you have a rock on the inside of your defense. And when the inside of your defense plays at a high level, that makes it easier on everybody else. Makes it easier on your linebackers. I mean, it just goes down the line. So Dominic McKinley, Tyree Adams, Kyle Parker, 3 big parts of LSU in 2026 if they all come back. Guys who we know won't be coming back are guys like AJ Halsey and Mansour Delane. And I want to single those guys out and congratulate them on being named to a few All-Star teams. AJ Halsey, Mansour Delane, first team Sport News All-Americans. But Mansour Delane is everybody's All-American. This guy's on 4 different All-American teams. AFCA, the AP All-American, Walter Camp. We've been talking about the portal a lot, and Delane is one of those guys, man. He is the definition of a hit. You got some hits and you got some misses when you get in the portal. Every program does. Nobody hits on everybody. But Mansour Delane at cornerback was the ultimate hit on defense. Day one, he was a starter. From the spring, you knew he was going to be a starter. Honestly, even after the spring, I didn't think he was going to be as dominant as he was. But Delane was an absolute dog on the corner. It got to the point where people didn't even throw his way, and it got to that point pretty quickly. Not to take away from what Halsey did too, I want to make sure I give Halsey his flowers. First team All-American at safety, guy out of Houston. And Halsey had some of the most impressive instincts that I've seen on that side of the ball. He's a very thick guy, very physical guy, very good in run support. But from what I saw and read about him, he was kind of made out to be a bit of a liability maybe in the pass game. Well, I didn't see that at LSU. I saw a guy who knew how to bait quarterbacks, who was absolutely elite zone defender, and just had a feel for the game. Not only when to go for the big hit, but when to lay off a guy and avoid a penalty. Um, when to close on a guy and get a pass breakup without getting a PI call. Hussey just has a football intelligence that's going to keep him playing in the NFL for a long time. I don't know what he's going to run in the 40. I don't know where he'll get drafted. I got to think in the top 3 rounds, but Hussey is definitely a player. And he made that LSU defense uh, a lot better. And I like the safeties on the LSU defense. I like guys like Deshaun Spears. I like guys like Cooley. But Hussey was just different. And it was in the pass game and the run game where he just continued to show up game after game. So congratulations to those guys on making the All-American team. And let's hope that LSU has even more of those guys next year when you get a healthy Whit Weeks, assuming he comes back. All right, so those are 2 who will be leaving. Who's going to be coming? LSU still has needs, and LSU has a lot of needs on offense, but who are we kidding? Everybody wants to talk about quarterbacks. So let's do it. Let's talk about quarterbacks. The quarterback pool in the transfer portal is going to be huge. There's going to be a lot of dollars flying around. It's going to be a lot of quarterback needy teams. But LSU has put itself in a position to where it will be competitive for pretty much any quarterback that it wants, because you have a quarterback-friendly coach in Lane Kiffin who has shown that he can get the most out of quarterbacks. You have a program that routinely puts out NFL talent at receiver, and you got beyond the receivers, you don't forget you got Trey Green coming back at tight end. And like I said about the NIL package, you're gonna be competitive there. So you got a guy who can coach him up. You got weapons. You got NIL. LSU is gonna be pretty competitive when it comes to getting a quarterback. It's gonna come down to who they want, and of course, what that quarterback wants. What is he looking for? Is he trying to be a champion? He's trying to make as much money as he can. Does he have a preference on where? South, West Coast, whatever. So we'll see. But you got some pretty big names, very highly recruited guys. You got some productive guys. You got some guys who maybe I won't say took a step back. I would say they didn't progress at the rate that most people expected them to. And on that note, we're gonna start with DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway has announced his intentions to enter the portal. Met with new coach John Sumrall. Didn't go great. And here we are. Lagway is in the portal. And I'm not blaming either side on that. I don't know if Lagway saw something that he didn't like. I don't know if Sumrall saw something that he didn't like in Lagway, but either way, he's in the portal. And Lagway is as toolsy as they come. Look, his completion numbers won't wow you. What he did this year, a lot of people are kind of cool on him after he turned the ball over so much. But that same talent that you saw as a freshman, that same ability to change the game, to elevate a team, that's still in there. That didn't go anywhere. It's just a matter of who can get it out, and is he willing to put in the work to build that consistency that he needs. But Lagway, 6'3", pretty much 250 pounds, 14 interceptions this year, so that's not great. But very, very physically gifted. This is a guy who makes throws all over the field, and he's one of those guys who makes it look easy. The deep outs, the stuff that's really hard, the rail shots, he makes it look easy because he's got such a big arm and he's accurate. Of course, he's got to improve on that decision making. So he didn't. he didn't make that step forward that a lot of people were expecting from him. This is a guy who was on a lot of people's All Americans. He was on everybody's All SEC team coming into 2025. But he had a rough stretch. So I made a point earlier about how bad units can make people look bad. So how much of this is on Lagway and how much of it was on the offense and the play caller and Billy Napier? Um, there's a good chance, as in most cases, it was a little bit of both. Maybe he wasn't in the film room enough. I don't want to speculate too much because I don't know. Um, maybe he just wasn't put in a position by the staff to succeed. But either way, turn the ball over way too much. But man, when you talk about an NFL arm and an NFL body type, you're not going to see many guys better than Lagway. So that's one option at quarterback for LSU. Another former 5-star, Dylan Raiola. Dylan Raiola out of Nebraska. I was very impressed with Raiola out of Nebraska after his freshman year because Nebraska didn't have much around him. Like, here's a guy, you make fun of him for wanting to be like Mahomes and doing his hair like him, walking like him, dressing like him. Yeah, I mean, it's just a kid who admires a pro athlete. I mean, I'm not going to kill him for that. He's a kid who wants to be like Mahomes, but he's a very talented dude. And I think that quarterback is one of the hardest positions to play. I mean, it's very possibly the hardest position to play as a true freshman. And he had a pretty good year. Nebraska won a couple more games than they did the previous year when he came. Had an injury this year, so it was cut short. Wasn't exactly lighting it up, but let's face it, Nebraska needs more help than just a quarterback. So with Rayola, you get some wild plays. You get some throws where it's like, man, how did he put it in that spot to where only his guy could get it? But you also have some routine plays, and sometimes it's reads, and sometimes it's actually executing the throw, where it's like, how did you miss that? So the big thing for him is going to be consistency. Similar to Lagway, physically he can do anything you want as far as making the throws. He's not going to take off and run for 500-600 yards, but he can escape. He can buy himself some time. He can throw on the run, and he can throw off platform. And I'm sure you can attribute a lot of that to practicing those Mahomes throws, but either way, he can do it. Very, very talented guy. He'll be highly sought after. But Dylan Raiola, another guy in the portal at quarterback, another option for LSU. One of the most intriguing options for me is a guy, sophomore, so he'll be a junior next year, former 4-star guy at North Carolina State, C.J. Bailey. C.J. Bailey, well, I said 4-star. Some recruiting services had him as a 3-star, but he wasn't like the big names like a Lagway or a Raiola, but he's a big guy. C.J. Bailey, 6'6", 210 pounds. He didn't have the most fluid throwing motion coming out of high school. Got a little better with that, but he's a very productive guy. I mean, this is a kid. He's a sophomore, threw for 2,900 yards and 23 touchdowns, and as a true sophomore at North Carolina State, that's pretty damn impressive if you ask me. For reference, your Heisman winner in Mendoza at Indiana was in that same neighborhood as far as yardage. He's right at 2,900, not quite 3,000. So this is a kid who, he won't command the attention. He won't command the NIL money that the names I just named before him will. But Bailey is a guy who can make a lot of throws. He's also mobile. Not a runner, but he's mobile. And he's what a lot of people look for in that big classic pocket quarterback. Now when I say pocket quarterback again, he's mobile. He's not a statue, but 6'6", he can see over the line. He can see the field, and made some good decisions also this year. Didn't throw a lot of picks. So CJ Bailey is a kind of sleeper name out of NC State that LSU could possibly go after. The last name I'm going to mention is a guy who's not currently in the portal, but he's a guy who I could very easily see jumping into the portal. And if he does, and I'm Lane Kiffin, and I'm LSU, don't overthink it. Trinidad Chambliss. Trinidad Chambliss is a kid who Kiffin found out of Ferris State, lower level school, D3 school, was lighting it up. He comes from not even FCS, like D2, D3, whatever Ferris State is, and he comes and he plays in the SEC and he's killing people. This is, I mean, if he'd have had more touchdowns, if he'd have started the whole year, he might have been able to put himself in the Heisman conversation. But this is a guy who can play. Look, I don't care where you came from. I don't care what your ranking was out of high school. When you see the production, don't argue with the production. When you see a guy who can make the throws, who can stay cool under pressure, who can run when needed, who can make great decisions. 3 interceptions on the year. 3 interceptions. Don't overthink it. Trinidad Chambliss, if he enters the transfer portal, I mean, I think LSU has his quarterback. He knows what he's getting in Lane Kiffin. Why not go and play for a guy who I'm familiar with? He understands me. I understand him. He recruited me from this small school. He knows Lane's system. It brings that run element that's been missing. LSU has a quarterback right now who brings the run element, but he's got to prove he can bring more than that in Van Buren. But Chambliss has shown it. He can make the throws. A very accurate guy. He killed LSU. There were so many times when LSU had him in 3rd and long, and you're like, okay, LSU is about to get off the field, and he just kills them. Whether it was a big throw or a big run, he understands how to take what the defense gives him. He takes it, and he does not turn the ball over. So you can't ask for much more than that from a quarterback. I think he is absolutely the safest pick that LSU can make from the position. So, as I said, he's not in the portal yet because he's still playing, and we'll see how far Ole Miss gets. They got Tulane coming up. So this is a guy who could be playing a month from now, and all, just being realistic. Now, the odds are against Ole Miss winning a national championship, but you can't rule it out. But whenever he's done playing, he's already petitioned for another year. And in this day and age in the NCAA, you're going to get all the years you want. Look, I made a joke about TJ Finley earlier, and I'm not trying to rag on TJ Finley, but he'll get another year because why not? It's where the sport is right now. You get all the years you want. You transfer as many times as you want, and it's just what it is. So I fully expect Trinidad to get another year of eligibility. And if he enters that transfer portal, I think LSU has his guy. I'm good with it. So, yeah, we're going to find out a lot in the next few weeks about this 2026 team. And I'm looking forward to the games. I'm looking forward to the playoff games. I'm looking forward to the bowl games. I'm soaking it all up because, look, it's a long off season. I don't like it. I watch basketball, I watch a little bit of baseball, but I don't like the off season. It is infuriating. I mean, it drags by. You just praying for some kind of recruiting news or waiting on spring practice. I'm not ready for the off season. So right now, while we got this news steady funneling in, I'm soaking it up. Hey, come back to the show and don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe, like the show, subscribe to the show. Check out my work on lastwordonsports.com. We talking about Frank Wilson on there too. That'll be coming out this week. Follow me on Twitter and TikTok at CFBLou. Till next time, we have more news coming next week. I'll holler at y'all.